In March 1814, Paris had fallen. Napoleon was defeated, and the Russian Tsar, Alexander I, marched into the city with an army of 150,000 soldiers. His intention was to dismantle France piece by piece. He was met not by a military force, but instead by one single man, Charles Maurice de Talleyrand. Without firing a single shot, Talleyrand sat the conqueror down, and by the end of the night, he had convinced the man who had just crushed France that it was in his own best interest to leave the country's borders exactly as they were. It remains one of the greatest feats of psychological persuasion in history. Between 1804 and 1815, Europe was fiercely led by the most famous emperor in history, Napoleon Bonaparte. But while the world remembers the emperor's many victories, they often overlook the man who operated in his shadow, Monsieur Talleyrand. He was a diplomat who had achieved the impossible. He survived the fall of the French monarchy, the Reign of Terror, the rise of Napoleon, and the restoration of the king. He served through 6 separate regimes without punishment during an era of guillotines and dungeons. Today, we are analyzing just how Talleyrand mastered what Otto von Bismarck coined as the art of the possible. We will be deconstructing history and finding different psychological tools Talleyrand used to overcome raw military power with nothing but an intellectual strategy. The first tool of Talleyrand's survival was simple. He was indispensable. While Napoleon was off commanding armies on the battlefield, Talleyrand was constructing a weapon Napoleon didn't bother to understand: a vast social network. Talleyrand used high-end dinners, fine art, and other hedonistic desires to lower the guards of global elites. He made himself the only man in the room who truly knew what everybody was thinking. He became the most powerful information broker in Europe. Napoleon hated him. He distrusted him. He had even had him fired. But he would always have to rehire him. Why? Because without Talleyrand, Napoleon was an unguided force. He possessed the strength and the strategy to attack, but only Talleyrand had the critical information about France's opponents. The lesson here? Being indispensable isn't about strength, it's about knowledge, the power of emotional control. Napoleon was a man of force. He ruled through public outbursts of rage. Talleyrand, however, understood the psychology of man too well for that to work. When Napoleon would fly into one of his legendary rages, screaming and physically threatening his ministers, Talleyrand would simply stand there. He wouldn't flinch, he wouldn't argue, he simply bid his time, controlling his demeanor. He forced Napoleon to exhaust himself against a wall of composed silence, which then allowed him to be manipulated. The lesson? When faced with an uncontrollable ego such as Napoleon's, your silence is not a weakness. It is a tool which can be used to deny your offenders the satisfaction they so greatly desire. By making yourself as indispensable as Talleyrand, you can weaponize how you react without fear of reprimands. Talleyrand never told Napoleon what to do. He knew that challenging a narcissist directly would be a death sentence. Instead, he mastered the art of what we know now as inception. He played to Napoleon's vanity. By 1808, Talleyrand saw that Napoleon's ego was steering France towards a cliff. With the end imminent, he began the most dangerous plan he could have thought up. His goal was to separate the leader from the state. He said to Tsar Alexander I, "The French people are civilized, but their sovereign is not. It is for you to save France by resisting the emperor." Napoleon's own right-hand man had just given the world permission to topple his reign. This maneuver wasn't just an attempt to survive a regime. He was preparing to inherit what pieces may remain while ensuring complete destruction was off the table. The lesson? You must maintain loyalty towards the goal, not towards the person. If the person becomes an obstacle, you remove the person and continue your path. Talleyrand served 3 regimes before he masterminded the construction and destruction of Napoleon's empire. He then went on to survive 2 more regimes before passing peacefully in his own bed. This can all be attributed to the fact that he never let the chaos of the moment dictate his composure. Act with purpose, and remember the words from the Prince of Diplomats. Speech was given to man to disguise his own thoughts.